Welcome everybody, Gaming Grandpa here, doing my MLS Explained tutorial for Football Manager 23. I wanted to do a little clip here on the waiver draft. I've already fast forwarded, so to speak. I went through the draft and found the players I want just to save some time. Otherwise, you could spend a lot of time going through each player, looking them up and whatnot. I'm just here to show you how it works. Now, we're going to go ahead and start the draft. One thing I wanted to say, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 different playthroughs with the same team and have different outcomes each time. That's the thing about Football Manager. Sometimes teams will decide to keep players, like in my St. Louis City save, and this is a St. Louis City save, but this is my tutorial one, so I'm not going to be playing this one after this. In my main save, there was different players in this draft. So just keep that in mind. It rotate, so it's not going to be the same for your save as it is for mine. That's just how it works. Now, normally in this type of draft, the waiver draft, and if you need to understand more about the waiver draft, it's definitely in my tutorials. I like to go young, pretty much. I love youngsters. The other thing you want to look out for is the contract type. Now, most of these players in this draft, I've already checked, their contracts are expiring at the end of this year. They don't have options. A lot of times that's what will make players be in the waiver draft, is if they have options left. Most of these guys don't. Now, there's a couple players that I were looking at, but I decided it would be easier just to go ahead and only draft one, even though in my real save I've drafted 2. And I will explain why here in just a second. Alright, now, you have to be careful with international player slots. You only start out with 8. You can trade to get more, but in the meantime, you only have 8. And because St. Louis already signed some players, I have 5 slots that have already been taken up. So I only want to be careful, and I only can sign 3 right now. Okay. In the meanwhile, this guy here, I know he has a huge contract. Oh, it's not showing it. Well, right here. But it does expire. And I don't need anybody in the right back position. I actually have my starter. That's Emilio Lara. But I do have openings in my central defensive positions. And that's pretty much where I'm going to play him at. So I am going to draft this kid. And then I'm going to turn right around and have to sign him to a new contract because his contract expires at the 22nd. And because it's the waiver draft, if I don't offer him a contract, then at the end of the year he's going to leave me and he's going to become a free agent because I didn't claim his rights and neither did the LAFC. So it's complicated. See my other videos for that. But in the meantime, this is the only draft pick that I'm going to take. Yes. And I am the first pick because I'm an expansion team. And in Toronto, who finished pretty much dead last year, they get the second and then so forth. So I can sit here and go through each pick. I'm not going to do that. I am going to skip to my next pick. There was one player that I wouldn't have minded to pick up, and it was this kid. But Salt Lake wanted him, and that's okay. I don't care. Here's another kid that is on my short list that I want. But here's the thing. If I sign him now, I'm going to have to offer him a new contract, and he's going to want more money than if I signed him as a free agent. Because once he clears this draft, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and I'll be able to sign him. Because, as you can tell, nobody else wants him. So that's what I'm going to do. There was nobody else in here that I really wanted that wasn't drafted already. So I'm going to go ahead and just pass. Now keep in mind that if you pass, your whole draft is done. So if you pass on your first pick in the first round, you're done. So just be very careful. It even prompts you, so be very careful. Alright, I'm going to complete it. And as you can see, he wasn't picked. So if I really want him, I can go ahead and sign him as a free agent now, which I do because he's a youngster that can play any of my defensive back positions. So I really, really like that versatility. Alright, the thing I want to see is right here. They're giving me 4 stars pretty much is what he is currently at, and he's not going to really improve much, but I need some good solid defenders, and that's what this kid's going to bring to me, so I'm going to keep it. But anyway, I'm going to have a lot of bits and pieces like this, and I'm going to parse together into one big video. So I'm going to go ahead and end this one here. That was just the waiver draft. The expansion draft's coming up pretty quick, so I will come back then. Thanks again, guys, and have a good day. All right, everybody, getting ready to do the expansion draft. Now, basically, you have 5 picks. We're going to go ahead and jump in here. you have 5 picks, and I've already kind of went ahead and browsed on the players that I want. Now this draft is way different than the one that I had for my save. It's crazy. There's not really that many players in here that I really want. And once again, Football Manager is so random, and it's just, you can't predict who's going to be in what draft. It's just crazy. You know, a lot of players that I signed from my main save aren't in this one, so it's really kind of hard. So you have to do a lot of searching, and you have to look for different things. Just some tips that I go by: I am very careful on international slots. I am very careful on the contract type. Like this guy here is a designated player. I don't want a designated player. I'm very careful on age. I try to get younger players if I can help it. In a general rule of thumb, I don't like to have signing players that are over 28. That's just me. They're not going to, I mean, while the leadership would be there, they're not going to improve, and they're not going to be really worth much more money. They're just going to start declining. So that's why I stay away from that. So with the salary cap in the MLS, salary is definitely a huge deal, along with contract type. Plus, you also kind of want to mark out your planner, you know, and see what you need. And I have some guys on my short list and different things like that. But, you know, I would love to find a defensive fullback. I'm sorry, a left back. I'm still sick, and I'm sorry. I do have a right back. This kid here is going to be my starting right back when he gets off the loan. So he's going to jump up to the top. Center backs, I'm looking for one more, because Nielsen's going to be a starting center back. Junior is a squad player, but he could always fill that role. So I'm in desperate need of strikers now that I got rid of Klaus, because I did go through that trade. And some center midfielders and some wingers I could use. Jensen is... One thing I learned about Jensen is I didn't sign him, but when 2023 starts, he's going to be a starter. And that was in a contract that he signed before I got here. So it's really kind of crazy. But that's just some things to look out for. And once again, you can only draft one player per team. So if there's 2 players that you really, really want, you have to decide which one you want more if they're from the same team. Another thing you can do, since you have unlimited time, is you can make a short list, which is what I've done. And you just go through here. Now, I decided that I definitely want Giucini. He's the only player that was on here from the first time I did this with my main save, so I definitely want him. He's working out great. I'm going to go with these 5 right here, because to tell you the truth, I wanted the left back. It just wasn't happening for me because of contracts, age, different things like that. Look at that, 33, 31, 34, 31, 29. I'm not doing it. I just, you know, I'm sorry. I'm not. So, plus they're international slots for a lot of them. So it's just really kind of tricky. But anyway, this is how the draft looks like. Now, if you're in a year where there's 2 of you that are expansion teams, then you're going to take turns drafting. And it gets a little bit harder because you are on a time limit. So, you know, just do a little bit of planning. It's kind of hard sometimes to tell, because the MLS is very bad about giving you like 1 day's notice of who's in a draft before it starts. And it just doesn't give you much time. In real life, you got plenty of time because you know who's protected and who's not. And it's just really crazy. Now, I'm going to go ahead for my first pick, and I'm going to take Reyna. Now, the thing about him, he is wanted by pretty much almost every club in the MLS. He is from Peru, but he has an American nationality, so he would be not taking up an international player slot. But he is 29 years old, and once again, he's breaking my rule, and he is, you know, he's not a DP, but he is making a lot of money. What I'm hoping is that I can trade him afterwards, because he is wanted by a lot of players, and me drafting him is not going to make that go away. And if worst case scenario, his contract expires next year, and I can just let him go. So I'm thinking that I am going to go ahead and pick Reyna. Of course, I'm going to have to find him again right here. So once again, to select him, you just hit that and you come down here to draft. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. That's the first guy. And then I wanted Jared Stroud. He, in real life, is playing for us. So it's actually kind of a treat to get him. And he's actually not, he hasn't been scouted by me, but he's actually not a bad little player. and he is 26, and he's on a senior contract of $84,000. So that's what I like. He's cheap, and that's for 2 more years. So I'm going to go ahead and draft him, and plus he can play pretty much anywhere in the attacking area. I mean, look at that. He is pretty well good on the midfield. So I really like that. And then Robbie Robinson is another one. And once again, he can fill in for striker, which is what I really need. He's not scouted, but he's a decent player. He is making 229, but that's okay. It's good for 2 years, so I'm pretty good about that. So I'm going to go ahead and draft Robinson. And just make sure that it's, it tells you, do you want to pick this guy? Yes. All right. And then I'm going to get my goalkeeper that I really want, because on my other save, I got rid of Berkey just because he's making too much money. I didn't really want him. So, it is what it is. But I might keep him in this one. I don't know. I'm not playing it. But anyway, I want this kid. He has been scouted. So he does have some potential. He'd be a decent little backup. So I'm going to draft him. And plus he's on a reserve contract, so that's good. And then I want Giochini. Which Giochini, I love him. He's a good all-around player. He's pretty good, so we're going to draft him too. And once again, if you're an expansion team, and say you play St. Louis City, you're going to have plenty of time to go through each player, each position, find out what you want. You don't want to draft 5 goalkeepers. You're not, what I'm saying? You just kind of want to see what you need and see what's available, and you also want to get the best player available that you can. All right, that's my 5. Now it's going to give me grades, I hope. And I can always offer out a player or 2 if I want. Just because I draft them, their wanted status doesn't go away. And I still have this head coach, so I'm sorry about that. All right. Oh, wow. Good. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. I did offer him out. I'm not getting rid of Sebastian Anderson. I ain't doing it. But anyway, here's my drafts. Here's my picks, rather. So, Reyna, yeah, I think I did okay overall. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. That's going to be the expansion draft. So the next draft that is coming up is going to be the re-entry draft. Stage 1. So I'll be back for that one, and I'll just cover both stages at the same time. I probably won't even have to. I don't even know who's going to be in it. But anyway, I will be back with the next draft. So talk to you in a bit.